If you've been following my channel, you know that I talk about games, animation, game development, but there's been this topic that has been popping up more and more in the channel, like every other channel, which is AI. And here in this channel, I like to see it from two perspectives. One, the state of the industry, how does it affect us going forward? How is it affecting us now? And then the other side is very much about tools that actually are made for game development, for artists, for creativity. All of that to say that in this video, we're exploring one of those tools, which is Autodesk Flow Studio. And Autodesk Flow Studio is a tool that I've been using for maybe 6 months or so. And I thought that this is going to be very useful for all creators. I just needed to get into my own pipeline to find out exactly how it worked better personally. But I genuinely feel like this tool is going to be a massive time saver and money saver for a lot of indie studios, smaller studios, creatives out there around the world, and I'd like to share more with you in this video. So without further ado, let's look at Autodesk Flow Studio. Welcome to another video, and I hope you're doing well. Now, before we get started, this video is sponsored by Autodesk, but all the thoughts in this video are my own, so thanks to Autodesk for sponsoring this video. All right, so we are in for a treat, and we hopefully going to actually get to speak with some of the folks behind the software here in the channel at some point, because it's very fascinating to see how Autodesk is kind of like seeing this AI trend. And I feel like they genuinely are catering to the creatives in the way that they don't want to take the humanity out of it. They don't want to take the creativity out of it. But what they really want is to prop you up as an artist to have the best tools possible so you can go ahead and then create a little easier, faster, save money, etc., etc. And I like that a lot. I was approached to actually create this video for Flow Studio a few months back, and I started playing with it just to find out exactly how much AI is there and how useful is it really, right? So the more I played with it, the more I started to see the benefits of it all and how this fits. And then ultimately, I think we actually are thinking about AAA and AA studios, big studios. And the one thing that I think that this tool does the best is going to be the ideation process, the prototyping process that we go through as we actually make different models, different animations, different tests, cinematics. So when it comes to prototyping, there's a bunch of different things that you need to do normally, naturally, that are part of the creative process. And I do think, just to preface things, that spending time thinking about what you want to do actually helps you a lot. I don't think that this new idea of AI that you press a button and you get the thing is actually helping with the ideation. Ideation happens when you're sitting down somewhere or thinking somewhere and you're going through a gazillion thoughts in your head, and then only the top one wins and you write it down or you draw it down, and then you're going to the next thing. That process helps and you need some time. However, the steps that you take for that process can be like minimized or improved on, and I think Flow Studio helps in that. Because normally what you do is you either storyboard or write some narrative about what a character is doing, or you describe it really well. And then at some point, you need to take some reference. You need to go outside with your camera. Doesn't matter if it's an iPhone or a really expensive camera, but you need to shoot it so you can have a feel for how long it takes, have a full feel for certain angles and all that stuff. And then after that, you bring it back in house. And then at that point, you are thinking about models and rigging and animation and cleanup. And that's just to prototype something, just to see if it works. And if it doesn't, you rewind back to the beginning and you start over again, storyboard again, model again, and all that stuff. Now, Flow Studio helps you in so many ways in this particular realm, and I think that is brilliant, because to me at least it makes me more creative, because I can spend more time thinking about what I want to do and then getting it and then coming back and doing it again, right? I feel like it's actually a much more malleable way of working. Now, I'm going to stop teasing and I'm going to show you exactly how it looks and some of the things that you can do, so it can break down for you guys exactly how useful it might be for you out there. All right, so the very first thing that you should know is that this piece of software is platform agnostic. You don't have to have a PC or Mac or anything, because it lives in the browser. You just need a browser. I'll show you here. I'm in a browser. My browser is called Arc, and basically I have it here as a tab. And online, which is great. It's great, and it works really flawlessly. Now, you can log in any way that you want. I'm gonna go ahead and log in with my Autodesk account. And now I'm inside the software. As you can tell, very simple. You have a home page, and then you have a bunch of different sections within your home page. And I'm gonna break it down for you by going into my projects, because this is where your projects live. It's actually quite simple, as you can tell. And all of the things that you work on live here. Very self-explanatory, I think. You also have Wonder Tools. This is new for all of you out there. So you have text to image, image to 3D, text to 3D, and then you have your templates. This is templates that Autodesk offers to you for you to use so you can get familiar with your software, and that is really, really cool. And then finally, my assets. This is where your videos reside, the things that you upload, images, anything. Now, the way you should think about this software is very much that you have like videos, and those videos turn into either models or mocap or cameras at the moment. I think there's going to be more things coming in the future, but those are the three things that you normally can take away from it, and then you can get, you know, clean plates and stuff. But that's kind of like how you should think about it. But I'm going to go to my assets, because this is the one that basically I'm going to show you here, because you can see here that when I tested this, I actually created a video of myself, and it was genuinely just me kind of like acting the fool and doing some moves for this. Now, this is actually like, you know, just, you know, some simple moves, and I was just, you know, pretending to do kung fu and stuff. And I wanted to find out exactly how it would look as a final product. Now, notice that for me as a professional, I know that this room is kind of like dimly lit, is not the best. And I have a bunch of objects behind me, which is another no-no. And I think I have different light sources. It's not like even. And I think the colors, I mean, you can have my socks here and the carpet are kind of the same color-ish, especially with the tips of my toes as well. That's kind of a problem. And the reason why is normally a problem is because you are trying to look for distinctions, clear distinctions on what is going on, either with when you have video reference, like an iPhone mocap solution. Normally you have to have something clear around you, or if you have a marker-based software, you also need to make sure that things are not intersecting. So for example, my hand here is intersecting with my body, which normally becomes a problem. What I found is that this actually was not a problem for the software. So what you do after you do this, just so you know, you then go into my projects, and then you can create a project right here, and then you can select from different things, right? So you have a live action easy. This is what I chose last time. Then you have a live action advance, where you can animate things and change things and compose CG characters. You have AI motion capture, and then this is basically about body tracking video. So this is what I did with mine as well. And then animation and video to the 3D scene. But for me, I'm looking for the data, right? The things that actually this can give me, so I can put in my Maya, I can put in my Unreal, or my Blender, so I can then edit and change as I want, because this is what I want to do as a professional. And this is why I chose the live action easy. Now, when you choose it, what happens is that like a window here pops up, and you have to select an actor for your scene. Now this actor can be any of these characters here on the side, right? So we have this footage, and then you just put this marker here on the bit that you want. So you basically select this and you say create actor right here, right? So if I go show actor, it shows me this, and then you have to map this guy here with one of the actors here, and this is where you get the options. And at the moment, you can choose these characters because these are the ones that Autodesk kind of like gives you, but you can upload also your own character if you want to. Now, once you actually do this, let's say I want him to be this cool dude called Bob, you can just assign Bob to this guy, right? So the actor that you set up on your timeline. So you just drag it in, and then once you drag it in, we now know that Bob is going to be this guy. And then when you press next, it will actually automatically give you that data as a result. Now for mine, after you actually generated and got the characters and all that stuff, this is what you get as a result. So what you get is this, you still have the audio, and you can see here that, you know, it's me, and there's a little bit of floating, and there's going to be a little bit of foot slippage. But even though the room was not incredibly lit, even though, you know, the data was not super clean, and I didn't try at all to kind of like make it easier for this. It still got my arm data, the foot data, it got my body, the little nuances. He got it really well, and in all honesty, even though I can see that there's jitters here and there, it's not that bad. It's workable, and this is the most important thing, because I can work with this. And then the best thing of it all is that from this data, you can go ahead and export your scene. So you can export a Maya scene, or a Blender scene, or a UE scene, or just a generic USD scene that you can put anywhere. But you can also export your AI mocap, you can export your camera track, and you can export your textures if you want for the desert robot, because you can export him as well. And you can export the video, the source video, or the video that you have here. The source video will be mine, the one that I got, and then this one will be this final video. Now this is where I think it's incredibly powerful. So if you actually do the AI mocap, you can immediately export an FBX that you can use in your Maya, on your Blender, in any software that you want. And then there is actually this side, which is these tools that Flow Studio provides for you, which I think are really good. And then here, I'm going to introduce Yogi. Yogi is our animation director at Rekindled, and he's incredibly talented. So what I asked Yogi was very much to go through the tools as a character artist, and then tell me about what was possible, and also limitations that we have with this tool. Are they truly useful? Are they actually something that professionals will use?
Hi all, my name's Yogi. I'm the character artist / art director at Rekindled Studios, and today I'll be looking into Autodesk Flow Studio, and I'm looking to try and navigate around this space to kind of get a sense of how this can be used within the 3D pipeline. AI is here, and it can be used quite well to at least try and start to do blockouts for characters and to create the good foundation. So I'm going to see what we can do in terms of testing 3 different stages of video game development and see what results we can get from this. So I'm going to jump into create a new project. And now there's a couple of different things I can test out. And today, what I'd like to test out is these 3 options down here. So to give you an idea of a couple of loose tests I did before, this was generating from a statement saying I wanted, so if the prompt you can see is I wanted to create a futuristic pilot wearing a helmet. However, for what I wanted to test was if I generated something from here, what would it do if I was to then convert that into a model? Really cool interface here showcasing the different models, densities that we could potentially use. I guess there's 3 different options, and what I'd like to check is to see what we can do. In fact, looking at this, there's an adaptive model. Oh, this is quite interesting. There's different ways to adjust the topology, including triangle and quadrant. Now, for myself, as a 3D artist, what I like to use a lot is the ZBrush pipeline. We like to take these as a base and then generate on top. So what I'm going to try and do here is actually, you know what? I think I've got ZBrush here to check in as much as we can get. So let's go with the max and quadrant. I will say that it is, I mean, there's no texture to this, so let's just go non-textured. And let's generate this, see what it does. So at a click of a button, you can see it's generating in the corner. Now looking at this, you know, it's done a pretty good job of getting at least the basic forms. So I think this would be quite good to have as a blockout. So this would be a mesh that I would take from this kind of level, stage where you can see that it's fused a lot of things together. So, you know, there's no separation, stuff that I would want to kind of pull out if I was going to turn this into a video game character. But this is a great idea of the size and scale of the different parts. I can see that it's struggled a little bit on the front here, and that's probably because of the information below. The face, that is, being seen through that visor. So with that, you can see there's a little bit of cleanup that's required, but this is looking really good. And now what I'm going to do is download this, and let's do this as a OBJ. So if I grab that space pilot mesh. Let's have a look at this. And I can see that this has done a pretty good job of capturing that data. I mean, some of it's muddy in places, but this is a nicely quadded, and quadded is squares rather than triangles, mesh. A couple of holes in places, but again, for a block out, this is looking really good. So yeah, it'd be good to see what it looks like to make my final test work, which is testing with a drawing. So I've got a sketch here, and it's a quick sketch of a generalized kind of character, something you might see as like early ideation before this even goes to concept. And I'd like to see what happens when we bring this in. So it looks like this is now completed, and I can see the mesh here. So let's see what that did. Oh, I like I like the style it's actually given me with the drawing on top. Yeah, I was like actually expecting it to be like block colors on top, but this has done a pretty cool job of adding that in, which is nice to see. And in terms of the model, again, it's understood that this is a face and this is a person. Again, the proportions, I like what it's done with the hands. Actually, it's kind of turned that into symmetrical, almost symmetrical actually. It's tried to figure out as best as it can what's happening here.
Alright, so thanks a lot to Yogi for actually looking through the tooling and how it worked. And you can tell, like, there is some limitations to the tool, even though it's useful for like a really quick model that you just want to use for ideation yet again, right? And I do think that if you are a solo developer, a small indie developer that doesn't have a whole department of people that you can rely on, and you really need that model or you really need that animation, I think that this then ends up being a really good tool for you. I think that what this will then aid us more than anything is going to be about doing quick iteration, ideation, and then seeing how things work, right? Because if you have that, and I'm a solo developer and I'm like in a restrict budget, for example, I can create something that is like, small and not super polished or whatsoever. I can test it in my game, or I can see how that works. And maybe I can now hire somebody they can do it professionally for me. So now I'm doing it properly, and now I know how to do it. A professional artist like Yogi would always grab that model and be like, okay, I'm going to actually do it properly now. And then you have a game ready asset that is not going to be too heavy or too light, and the topology needs to be absolutely cleaned up. That is actually for the professionals, because each game is different and has different wants and memory thresholds, and each platform is different. So you need to have somebody there that can give you the assets that are ready for your game. But this, for the ideation process, doesn't matter so much. You don't have to have super clean assets for animation or models in order to just have something to see if it works. And if it works, then you go back and then iterate on it some more. And then when you have it, you go, okay, I think this works. Now I'm going to go and do the real thing now. And he helps you a ton, because he saves you on iterations. And it means that if you have a budget and you actually have to invest this money, you need to know that you are investing this money in the right things. So if you already did the iteration process, and now you know that the model is pretty much what you want, and the animations are pretty much there, and the cameras, and now you know how it is, and you only had to spend what a subscription to a Flow Studio is, now you're ready to show it to the professionals and be like, okay, can we do this, right? And this is when we have the conversations about exactly how we're going to put it in game, and the memory limits, and the topology limits, and all these other things. So after using it for so many months, I think to me, Flow Studio ends up being a really positive tool for everybody working in games right now that wants to, test the waters about a tool that kind of supports the artist and gets them to kind of like save time and also money if you're looking for like a smallest budget indie developer. I think this helps you to prop up, helps you to visualize things, helps you to like start to see things that perhaps your limitations, either artistically or monetarily, wouldn't be able to give you before. And I think that ultimately empowers game developers and people that want to basically be creative without really kind of like limiting what the professionals can do. And this is why I think having that line where you understand the limitations of this tool and who this tool is for, it's very important. For small indie studio solo developers, all of a sudden you're getting a lot of bang for your buck by just getting Flow Studio. And I think this is why it's exciting to people out there, at least it's exciting to me. So I hope to hear from you about this, because I know that AI is very controversial, and in a lot of these videos, some of the comments can be very negative. And regardless of how you feel, I still want to hear your comments down below. So feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you think about Flow Studio. Do you think it's going to be useful for you? Do you think it's going to be a detrimental tool and it's one of those evil tools? I'd love to hear what you think. And thanks once again to Autodesk for sponsoring this video. And until the next video, stay safe, stay well. Peace. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. If you super enjoyed it, leave a super thanks. It's like leaving a little tip and it directly supports the channel. If you haven't already, subscribe and turn on post notifications so you can continue to see my videos and get your weekly dose of betterment.